time for the ride home in ENC.
Yes! Yes! Yes!
This is your 5 o'clock drive with Patrick Johnson.
Holy mackerel!
More news, more interviews, more ECU stories than you can shake a stick at. Hey, stop shaking that stick. This is the Patrick Johnson Show.
Pirates win! Pirates win!
On 94.3 The Game.
All right, welcome in. Nice to have you with us here. It is our penultimate show of the week. We will be preempted tomorrow. I'll be on the call of ESPN Plus coverage of East Carolina hosting Appalachian State. That'll be at 7 o'clock. It'll be must-side TV as the great Cy Seymour rejoins us. Philip the Rep Pilkington is here. Of course, we'll be back Friday. I'm very excited about today's show. We'll talk to Brian Mull, talk some college basketball and the fate of that sport and some on-court performances in just a little bit. Also, later on in the week, Friday, our end of the week show that gets you to the weekend edition. Chris Hughes from Carolina Preps as the state championships begin tomorrow. We'll talk about a couple of the true Eastern teams that are in it, including the Tarboro Vikings and the Kinston Vikings, respectively, in different classifications, vying for the state title. Both those teams will play on Saturday. Kinston in Durham and Tarboro in Hickory. Also, something to report on and tell you about. We'll also have Greg Horrenda on with us that day. Many of you remember Greg as an assistant coach with ECU under Bill Harrion. Of course, he was an assistant in the Big East. And Greg also is a guy who led Fairleigh Dickinson to the NCAA tournament once upon a time. He is in the Triad area of North Carolina living now, and he's doing college basketball for Fox, CBS Sports Network, and ESPN and ESPN Plus. Great job as an analyst, does a lot of the Davidson games. So, boy, it'd be great to get him down here to do a game with us because Greg's really, really good. Anyway, he'll be on the show. Looking forward to that. Let's bring in Philip Pilkington now. We'll get to Brian Mull. We want to allot a lot of time for him today. So, Pilk, is there anything that we need to report on before we jump into the top 5 here? Any house cleaning items, anything like that? Have I hit on everything pretty well as far as
just a reminder that Logan's show tomorrow will be 4 to 6, and then we'll do our little 30-minute thing. I think we're going to replay the John Gilbert interview, and that's going to be our stuff. And then we get Pirate basketball. Happy State.
All right, that is tomorrow night, 6:30 airtime on 94.3 The Game for Pirate Hoops, also 107.9 WNCT with the game tipping at 7. All right, let's do the top 5.
This may very well be our last mission. Let's make it count.
This is the Patrick Johnson Show on 94.3 The Game.
It's impossible.
Now some stories you may have heard.
You ready?
Or catch it for the first time. This is your 5 at 5 with the P-Man.
Before we get going, Phil, I've got one I want to replace your last one with.
Perfect.
I didn't tell you that. So.
Good. My last one was bad. It was just a filler.
Okay. Well, this is interesting. All right, here we go.
Number one.
And mine will probably need to follow the Aikman thing. Anyway, go ahead.
Okay. Sounds good. Number one, the lines for the bowl games came out actually yesterday. We didn't have time to report on it because we had to do our Stephen Igo segment due to the coordinators leaving. But the Pitt Panthers have opened as 6-point favorites in the Military Bowl. Earlier this week, when speaking with the media, Blake Harrell gave a scouting report on the Pirates' opponent for Saturday, the 27th.
They've done really well this year, and Coach Narduzzi has done an exceptional job up there offensively. They are spread, throw the football around a little bit like FAU in that regards. Defensively, they're more of a four-man front. They'll play a lot of quarters, press man quarters on the outside. He'll play 3 deep, 200 pressures and some man pressures he's added in there with Coach Bates over the years. So he's done an exceptional job over the years and certainly have our hands full.
What is it, 6 points?
Yep.
I think that makes sense given some of the uncertainty of the moment. Was it CBS Sports that the coach sent us? CBS Sports ranks that game between ECU and Pitt as a top 5 bowl game. as far as the bowl matchups go.
Yeah, true bowls, not
So,
including the playoffs, obviously.
Right. These are the traditional bowls. This is the fifth best matchup, and I think it is a great matchup. You got East Carolina, 8 wins. You got Pitt, who is in the top 25 in a couple of instances during the course of the season. And you got a rookie quarterback against Caton Hauser. So we think, so we hope, so we're planning.
You never know.
So, yeah, I think that's probably spot on. Look, Vegas knows.
Number two.
Number 2, 44-year-old Phillip Rivers has been signed to the Colts practice squad. He has not taken an NFL snap since 2020.
So this came out after we were off the air at the live portion of the Patrick Johnson show Monday, in that he was going to be there as a tryout. This is because Daniel Jones ruptured his Achilles. Riley Leonard, the backup quarterback, another former Duke quarterback, has injured his knee. And so the only and then the quarterback out of Florida, isn't it, is still on the injured list.
Yeah, Richardson's got an eye injury. It's the only guy on the roster right now is Brett Rippon. He's on the practice squad. Obviously, he started a handful of games at Denver a few years back, so he's played in the league.
He is not. But point is, you have right now one healthy quarterback in that organization. So you go and you sign Phillip Rivers. Now, Phillip Rivers finished his career at Indianapolis. Phillip Rivers is 44. The thing, I guess, that, this is not like a Andy Dalton situation or a Kirk Cousins situation or even a Joe Flacco situation where the quarterback is more advanced in age but is at least been in the system and is taking snaps, is taking live fire snaps during the week. So this is kind of unique, isn't it? I'm sure there's times, and we'll see times where this happened, or there have been times where something like this has happened. But this just seems like a long period of time. And if I'm not mistaken, Pilk, you kind of know these things. Rivers had an okay wrap up of his career. I mean, he was still fairly productive, wasn't he? Wasn't great, but he was productive at least.
Yeah, I mean, things were going good. They went to the playoffs. They go to Buffalo. They get beat there in the wild card round, but still, he took them to the playoffs, and it was a solid roster. But he played well, and the interesting thing, and you and I were talking about this off air, Patrick. I think we were on the phone a couple days ago that Ryan Tannehill's only been out of the league for 1 year. He did not play in 2024. I'm not trying to bash on Rivers, but Tannehill's a little younger. Probably a little less rusty considering he was taking snaps in 2023 and not 2020. So, I don't know, man. This is kind of head-scratching, but, he's used to playing 11-man football because, if he just gets all his kids in the yard, well, that's 11.
He's got 10 kids. He also had been coaching football in
Alabama
and Pilkington. He's a grandfather.
He is. Grandpa in the NFL. I mean, maybe George Blanda was that. He retired in his early 50s. Maybe he was a grandfather. I don't know.
Maybe. The only two colleges, universities out of high school for Phillip Rivers to recruit him to play quarterback were, one of them, NC State. The other, Duke. Auburn and Alabama wanted him to be a tight end.
He's not big enough to be a tight end.
I'm just telling you what the article said, Pilk. Don't shoot the messenger.
Sorry.
A lot of places wanted David Garrard to be a tight end or a defensive end or a linebacker, and he came to little old ECU to play quarterback.
3.
Number 3, Troy Aikman has announced that he will no longer give to the NIL at his alma mater UCLA after a player, which he will not name, took the money and then hit the portal and did not play for the Bruins.
And I think Troy Aikman's contention there is he didn't even get so much as a thank you call, a thank you note, any of that.
Yep.
And it's not like Aikman's hurting for money. So they've got
it was clearly the moral behind it, not the financial behind it.
This is UCLA's got a ton of problems. Your most prominent alum in football at UCLA is Troy Aikman. There's still
100%.
relevancy with Troy Aikman because he's on Monday Night Football. He works for the worldwide leader. So if your most prominent alum is not going to support the program in that fashion, your most prominent football alum is not going to support the football program in that fashion. That's a problem.
Yeah. And as we know, we talked about on this show yesterday with Giglio and the advancement in football and teams or in universities, putting money towards football that historically haven't. UCLA cannot just say, hey, well, John Wooden was the thing one time, and now basketball is consistently ranked 20th. That's good enough. No, that's not the world we live in anymore.
They have a lot of problems at UCLA. Wes Durham on this fine radio product told us about, the California tax or whatever they have to pay in perpetuity to the Cal system, to the collegiate governing system in there. I mean, they have to pay that every year. I forget what the number was, but it was
a lot.
Bawdy number.
Yeah.
I mean, it was $10 million. It was 8 figures every year that had to be paid to just participate, no longer be part of the pack, whatever, but to be in the Big Ten. They play at a stadium that's in the Rose Bowl that is huge, and they maybe drew 2,000 fans. I mean, it looks bad. It's a terrible look.
They're covering seats, and they're still not filling the seats that aren't covered.
Right. Correct. And then they've got a practice facility that is routinely underwater, their practice field. If it ever does rain there, it's underwater. I say routinely, but I mean, when it does rain, it's underwater because it doesn't have the proper drainage. It's just a nightmare. It's just, and look, our baseball fans realized going out there a few years ago, their facilities are dreadful. They're not great facilities out there.
Yeah, Jackie Robinson Stadium is not a nice stadium. I mean, Poly Pavilion. It's decent. But other than that, I mean, I think their softball field's nice. That's about all I got.
Who cares?
Take it away, P-Man.
Problems at UCLA. So the Arizona Sun Devils are going to be playing in the Sun Bowl against the ACC champ Duke Blue Devils. They were the surprise team of the 24 season was Arizona State, winning the Big 12, got to the college football playoff. They were picked last in the preseason. Of course, all that was last year. And, of course, they had Scatabo, right? Right, Pilk?
Yep.
Dillingham, Sam Levitt. Boom, boom, boom. Injury-riddled season. Levitt missing the final 4 games. So they finish 8-4. And he is not going to play as Levitt in the Sun Bowl.
Is he still hurt?
Well, I guess he's just opting not to play. And so the head coach, Kenny Dillingham, retweeted the tweet that reported that Levitt was not going to play. This is what he said. Big 12 champ, check. Put his name on the map, check. Smart/talented player going to succeed wherever he goes. That's a class move by the Arizona State head coach, as I look at it. For all the complaining and moaning and whining that college football coaches do, and by God, they love to do it. To me, that's a classy statement from the guy at Arizona State. You can agree or not whether a guy should opt out and play in the bowl. That's a separate conversation from this topic, which is the coach was classy about the player's decision.
He was. You could tell he was frustrated, but classy.
And that will get him more clout with today's players.
Oh, for sure.
Than if he were whining and bitching so a couple of fat cat boosters could, shake their head and say, these players today.
5.
All righty, number 5. The Big Ten commissioner, Brett Yormark, has blasted Notre Dame's AD for his comments. Yeah, and I will not read the entirety of the quote just because it's too long. We're short on time, but the beginning of it, I don't like how Notre Dame has reacted to it. I think Pete and his behavior were egregious, and he goes on to say some other stuff but pretty much just calling the comments from the AD egregious. So now, if you're Notre Dame, you've already ticked off the ACC, and now you've looked unclassy to the Big Ten. So now they're not going to want to accept you if that's who you come crawling to, if this thing goes to automatic conference bids.
Well, also what they're wanting, and we know it's not for 6 years because of that supposed memorandum of understanding. What they want at Notre Dame is quite simple. They want to remain independent, and they want to structure perhaps a more appealing schedule arrangement with the conference. Think about this, Pilk. All of their big games now at Notre Dame are played early in the season because they have no conference games. And all these the ACC is involved in the Big Ten when they do play Big Ten teams are involved in big games late. So they're not going to get those big games late in the season like maybe Notre Dame did once upon a time. And you're exactly right. The ACC relationship, although I think Jim Phillips, who still thinks Notre Dame probably is a worthy brand, and I guess they are.
They they draw eyes.
In football, nothing else. And what good does that do the ACC? I mean, one game, a BC game may actually have people watch it.
Yeah.
And, now, as you say, it has been a turnoff to the Big Ten. Very interesting times for the Fighting Irish.
The only game,
like champion.
Yeah, the only game that they can get late in the season they had this year that was big, Patrick, was USC. And the only reason they're getting that now is because of what you said in our previous or 2 stories ago about UCLA's dumpster fire. And now the USC-UCLA game is not like a predominant, hey, let's play this the last game of the season. So they actually got USC pretty late. Heck, it might have been the last game. Actually, I think Stanford was the last game. But still, they got that pretty late. And that's just kind of due to the demise of the USC-UCLA rivalry. So, but other than that, they're playing Ball State at the end of the season.
All right, we're going to talk college hoops with Brian Mull ahead of East Carolina hosting App State tomorrow night, so stay with us.
Listen up. He's talking now.
Sorry, thought we were vibing.
The Patrick Johnson Show on 94.3 The Game.
Hey. We welcome you back in it. We welcome one of our favorites, the one and only Brian Mull with us here. Golf and basketball, basketball scribe. Talking college hoops with Brian Mull. ECU and Appalachian State tomorrow night. We will not have a pre-show. Pilk, will you do something at 6 tomorrow night?
We'll do a brief. I think I'll probably rerun the John Gilbert interview that you did. I think that's the best content we've had this week.
Well, if it's involving me, I would say yes. For sure. Plus, there's so much news just breaking and going and breaking that it's a little more evergreen, in a sense. Brian Mull is a renowned basketball writer, also covers golf, 2-time caddy on the PGA Tour in a couple different stints, and college hoops extraordinaire. So, Brian, hello to you, my friend. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, and wishing you a joyous New Year. We'll talk to you, I'm hoping, before then, but in the event we don't talk to you, let's just get those pleasantries out of the way.
Absolutely. All the best to you, Pilk, and all the listeners, and many safe returns, and may Santa Claus bring you everything you ever wanted.
If only. So, last night, Jimmy V, kind of a tough lesson for the Tigers against the Mormons of BYU, the Cougs. That looked like a game that Brad Brownell's group was gonna win, and then boom, BYU kind of socked them in the mouth.
It was a tale of two halves, the worst lead anybody has ever written. Somebody probably wrote that, if people still wrote things.
Sure.
Yeah, Clemson just dominated the first half. And, I mean, they 28-6 there in those latter parts of the half, and kept the great AJ Dibonsa in under wraps, but boy, he went nuts. 28 points, 6 assists, 9 rebounds. What a phenomenal talent he is, and took over the game second half. And tough loss for the Tigers. Would have been a good one for the ACC. Would have been a good one on Selection Sunday. I mean, you look at Clemson at 7-3. And while they do have a nice neutral court win against Georgia, they have dropped the ball in losses, especially that road loss at Georgetown. That's going to probably come back and sting them. So they don't have a ton of opportunities. They play, of course, the rivalry game with South Carolina, and then they play a game against Wes Miller and company, the Cincinnati Bearcats. But they're going to have to do some work in ACC season. The good news is ACC a little better shape than, a few more opportunities than we've had presented there in the past, it looks like.
And the second part of that V Foundation deal was UConn beating Florida. Are the Fighting Hurleys back?
Yeah, I mean, that felt like a potential Elite Eight Final Four game to me. I mean, watching those teams, I was very impressed with Florida against Duke. Their resolve, their sheer size. I mean, to what a throwback to have a front court like that, where the shortest guy is 6'10", and then have 4-man rotation there among those positions, and committed to playing big. And Thomas Howell's a phenomenal first round draft pick looking type of player. Their guards are going to have to come along. I mean, I think UConn's got all the ingredients, and certainly we know what they can do in the postseason. And they've handled their tests. Now when you look at played a brutal schedule, they've played 5 top 20 Ken Palm teams, and they're 4-1 in those games. Only lost to Arizona by 4 points at home, but wins over Kansas, Illinois, Florida, and BYU. And they're positioned to, if they were to be the Big East champion, to certainly be a number 1 seed in the tournament.
How about that? UConn back. Brian Mull with us. We're talking college hoops. Much has been made over the last couple of days about what has gone down with the college football playoff selection situation. And we now know what a disaster, just kind of the whole thing. Well, we've known college football has been in a little bit of a disaster mode, but, this shined an even bigger light on it. From your perspective, how could this spill over into basketball? Because I really do think now the press, there's going to be, at some point, it's just going to be a couple of big football leagues. I've always contended that, the SEC and the Big Ten do not want to take with this is just not going to be a football deal for them, because they want to obviously control the inventory, or their networks that pay the money want to have that inventory during basketball season as well. So I ask you, Brian, do you foresee football going to these super leagues, and then we just go back to regional conferences, and we don't touch the NCAA tournament in any way, and that sort of thing? I mean, where do you see the future of basketball as far as its postseason?
They're going to expand the tournament, whether that's 72, whether that's some other arbitrary number. There's too many of these coaches that are sitting in meetings and having conversations with the Greg Sankeys of the world and various people and saying, look, you don't understand how difficult it is to play in the SEC night in, night out, or the Big Ten. And so I'm trying to keep my job, and I have to make the tournament. And, we need to be getting 13 teams, 14 teams in the tournament every year, because they've got this incestuous scheduling model now where they just play each other and don't give any opportunities whatsoever to the mid-majors of the world. They've been eliminated in a lot of the early season tournaments, and they're not scheduling those games. And if you're any good at all at that level, they're certainly not really trying to schedule those games, because God forbid they lose one. And that's becoming more and more of a closed shop. And therefore, we're going to see a lot of Sweet 16s that are all P4, primarily SEC, Big Ten, with a little ACC, Big 12 sprinkled in. I mean, that's just the the nature of the future there. So it's almost the opposite in college basketball, which is interesting because that's always been the place where the mid-major could make a name for itself. And the gulf is wider and wider. The money being spent is wider and wider. $20 million rosters against $2 million rosters. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out who's going to have more talent. And, it's leaving a lot of lack. There's just the excitement of March Madness has always been the little guys, making a run. Now, do you get a higher quality of basketball? Maybe, I don't know. Fewer blowouts. I mean, you're not going to have 21 point and 17 point favorites like you do in the first round of the college football playoff, which is insane.
Right.
Nobody needs to see that. I mean, no, Ole Miss has already played Tulane, and Tulane had a great season. Tulane's a great program. They've done it now with multiple coaches. They've turned themselves into a bit of a place where coaches can build a career and move on. But we've got two really compelling matchups. But how good would have Ole Miss versus Notre Dame and Oregon versus Vanderbilt been? To cap off that for a national brand like Notre Dame going to Oxford, Mississippi, for probably one of the only times they would ever go there. And then to have a Pavia in there, flinging it around, running around. What a great story. And that's no offense to Tulane or JMU, but the people in Vegas are putting those numbers on the game, and the market's sharpening those numbers for a reason. And those games will probably end up pretty close to those spreads.
The great Brian Mull with us here. I want to ask you a little bit about one thing. I think they should just go ahead and make the tournament 128. You only add a round to that. You could play that between the first weekend and the Sweet 16 weekend. That could be your Tuesday, Wednesday round of games. And I think, everybody be fine with that. You'd preserve what makes the tournament great because you'd still have some of those little guy matchups. And I'm all for more basketball, especially in the postseason, the way college does it. So let's just do that. I want to ask you about Notre Dame. Their AD says that a strain has been put on the relationship with the ACC. There's one thing if you go to fan sites, if you read comments of articles for those that do that, and it's occasionally an interesting exercise just to kind of get maybe a little bit of a temperature on certain things. And then I've been told about some of this too from people that hang out on a lot of those sites and boards. There is a universal agreement among ACC fans that say Notre Dame's thinking about leaving. Don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you. What's your read on that?
No, there's never been, I can't remember any relationship that's been more one-sided or manipulated or dominated. ACC has had ample opportunities to hold Notre Dame accountable for, you want to be in our league? Okay, well, we need some of that money that you're getting from that TV contract. And
that would solve a lot of problems. That would solve a lot of problems in the ACC. It really would.
It would have solved problems 15, 20 years ago, when all these, or whenever this started, the timeline on it. But, we need the money because we need to be able to compete with the Big Ten and the SEC. And we drug our feet on creating a network and we missed out on some opportunities there. And it started to show up on the field with the effects that it's had on some of the premier programs in that league. And, that's what they should have done from the beginning. And then after 2020, when Notre Dame came running and begging because they didn't have any games to play, they had another opportunity to say, okay, yes, we'll let you in with this caveat. You're going to give us some of the cash. Okay. We don't want all of it. You get to keep the majority of it, but we're going to take the rest and we're going to split it amongst our members. And, we're going to have some equity and some competitive balance. But instead, they've let Notre Dame just come in and tell them what they were going to do. And so now I really, finally the ACC, I guess, struck back in a way, if you listen to the perspective of the administration in South Bend. And I have no sympathy for them. They've called the shots. And if you want to function as independent, but they've had their cake and been able to eat it too, as if you will. And what do they really bring? They gave Mike Gray a couple opportunities to win some ACC championships, and I'm thankful for that. But otherwise, what have they really brought to the table in any of these other sports so that anybody pays attention to?
Well, and the other part is this. They boast about the 24 sports that are involved in the AC. I mean, the SEC is not, the Big 12 is not playing the sports that they sponsor in South Bend across the board. The different field hockeys and this and that and the blah 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 blah. They're not playing. So I mean, the ACC for those sports is the most logical landing spot. But I don't know. The basketball thing has never made a lot of sense to me. They also are the ones that I guess push to get the two West Coast teams in. Notre Dame did, when they did that expansion as well. So I mean, to me, it's a lot of a net negative in a lot of that. Just the basketball relationship. Yeah, it gave Mike Bray a chance to kind of prowl Tobacco Road yet again and provide countless entertainment. He had some good teams. I know the women, I guess, have won a national championship since being a member in the ACC, the women's team. But, to me, I don't know. SMU in there feels like a better fit for basketball and everything else than Notre Dame just being a basketball, for the most part, non-football member does. I don't know. I just, if they were to leave from their basketball and maybe taking into account these other sports, I mean, where would be a lot? Obviously, the Big Ten would covet to have them in that conference. But
yeah, I mean, that would be the negative for the ACC's perspective. It's like when Bear Bryant used to recruit all the offensive linemen in the Deep South because he just didn't want them to go to Georgia or Auburn, or Ole Miss. Right. So they were fourth string at Alabama. And, he had unlimited scholarships. It's kind of the same thing. If the Big Ten were to get Notre Dame, it wouldn't be so much that the ACC got weaker. It would be that the Big Ten got stronger. And especially if they were able to, but the Big Ten's in a position where they don't need the financial benefit as much as the ACC did. That is clear. I mean, money doesn't talk; it swears. The ACC has fallen behind these other leagues because of money. Right.
Yeah. The great Brian Mull with us talking ball. Let's get to the on the court tomorrow night. Cy Seymour rejoins me on the television. It's must-see TV. I'm going to coin that phrase, must-see TV, as East Carolina and App State will play. I believe, I don't have the printout in front of me here. It is the 65th meeting between the two all-time. Pirates have a 10-game advantage in the all-time series. They will play tomorrow in Greenville, tomorrow night, 7 o'clock. We'll have it on ESPN+. Now, App is coming off a eye-opening, jaw-dropping 133-45 win against UVA Lynchburg. And, okay, that is what it is. But this is an App team that has had its struggles offensively. I like their coach a lot. I think he's done a heck of a job at a place that does not give a damn about basketball. I mean, he's been to the NCAAs, for crying out loud. He's been to some postseasons. So what should Pirate fans expect from App State tomorrow night?
Yeah, they've been a huge disappointment. They're down about 100 spots in KenPom, much like the Pirates, two of the biggest droppers of the season nationally. Both more than 100 spots or more down, and neither team has proven that they can shoot the basketball consistently. I mean, App State losing consecutive games to Elon Mercer and UNC Asheville probably just shouldn't happen if you're in the Sun Belt. And you have a coach like Kearns. He does have a reworked roster. They were able to excel and thrive with continuity there for a while, but certainly, like you said, all of the resources in Boone focused on the football field and just a difficult spot to retain talent. Kearns does a great job. It's one of the harder jobs in the country and the state. And he puts some good product out there, and I mean, you can always tell what they're trying to do. They're usually they've been top 100 defense the last 2 years, but they've really slipped this season. Kind of a grindy ball control type team, a tough physical team. I remember a few years ago them just on that 27 win team, this just overpowering, manhandling a pretty good UNCW team at a neutral court in Florida. That's kind of what I think of when I think of Kearns, but they're struggling. Pirates are struggling. The good news for those two fan bases is somebody's going to win. And both of these programs really need something to feel good about as we start to head into a kind of sneakily busy stretch of basketball. Now that exams are wrapping up, you look at both of these programs have four. This will be the first of 4 games heading into the Christmas break. So an opportunity to make the eggnog taste a little better. Before conference play cranks up after the holiday.
The Pirates will play Buffalo on Sunday. I know they won last night at UMBC to move to 9-1. Can you give me a primer on the Buffalo Bulls as they come in horns first to Minges Coliseum on Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, Buffalo, of course, was a launching pad for a couple of coaches whose names are very familiar. One of them is now considered one of the best in the sport. That would be Nate Oates, who won 32 games there in 2019 and had back-to-back NCAA tournament victories before landing the job at Alabama. Of course, he got his start working for Bobby Hurley, who had left prior to that. They tried to follow the same pattern, hired a guy named Jim Weitzel, who was Oates' assistant. He had very middling results, and then now they've brought in George Halkovich in 24, and he won 4 games, and then looked like he was headed for the same. They've matched their win total from last year at this point, 9 wins, and they've veered away from the tempo that Hurley and the Oates had. They were one of the faster teams in the country. They've really slowed down this year, and shot the ball extremely well. And, this is a good looking offensive team. They've had some struggles on defense, but they've benefited a bit from, this is one of those schedules that you put together in year 3 when you've had 2 bad years, and they've capitalized. They've won a lot of these games. They won at DePaul by 13, and, they beat up on a lot of teams in the late high 200s and 300s, but they're in position to go into conference play. This will be their last game before conference play, and could feel probably pretty confident they can get a 10th win and might even be a slight favorite.
There you go. Hey, Brian, with East Carolina, really bad game against UNCG, 1-win Spartans team that came in, and I don't think vintage Mike Jones club by any stretch of the imagination, and yet his team gets the win. They were the tougher team. I think that's really what it came down to in that game. Who was the tougher team? And they were the tougher team. So I ask you right now, it's year 4 of Mike Schwartz, and, I realize roster construction is challenging in this day and age, especially at the American level or the so-called, the mid-major level, high mid-major level. I get that. I totally understand that. But this, we talk a lot when we visit with you about teams and their identities. And it seems like there's been a struggle to carve out an identity under Mike Schwartz in these 4 years.
Yeah, I mean, I've always looked at basketball like this. Like, offense is a reflection of your recruiting, your talent. In some years you're just not you may have a void. It's a little, it's less excusable now than it once was, because you should be able to identify those potential weaknesses and fill them one way or another. But there's many routes other than just writing a big check. I mean, there's great players in Division II that are overlooked. There's more international players coming over. I mean, there's avenues to fill those holes. ECU clearly did not do that in the offseason. But the problem I would have is, here's a guy that came in talking defense, and has yet to produce a defense better than 150th, and that was in his first season. And now you have a team that's ranked 207th in adjusted defense and 303rd in field goal percentage, effective field goal percentage defense. And that's where I would really feel like, what are we doing here a little bit? Because you could understand if this was a team that just had limitations with shooting or scoring or whatever it may be. But when you really have not carved that identity on defense in year 4, it would be unrealistic. And you've just put consistently horrible shooting teams on the court in the 300s every year. I mean, it's just hard to win that way. If you can't shoot and you're below average at defense, it's, the math will tell you that wins are going to be scarce.
Brian, with Duke, when we talked to you last time, you were sounding the warning bell for the Blue Devils going to Michigan State. Pilkington, Mr. Glass Half Empty on everything Blue Devils, says we need a second consistent scorer. And as far as that goes, I think he's very much right. You've got Boozer, and then who could emerge? And I get that. Maybe it's picking at nits, but I was impressed as hell with their win in that environment last Saturday.
I mean, it was a great win. I would say it was one of the better regular season wins for Duke in recent memory. To go into there, to not play your best, to have your best player, they had their worst offensive game of the season, to have your best player get into foul trouble for the first time all season, to miss a ton of open shots, to be down by 5 in the second half and the place going ballistic. John Shire has excelled in so many ways. Defensively, they're on another level. I mean, they held Michigan State to 29% on 2-point shots in that game. They've held every team except Kansas below 50% on 2-pointers. For all the preseason chatter about, they're not going to be the same without Malloy. Well, they're not the same, but they're figuring out a way to get the same results. But his ability to call timeouts at the perfect time is next level. Like, he never, especially in a difficult environment or when things just aren't going well. And also his ability to not call timeouts sometimes and force them to play through it. But he calls timeouts. He draws up a play. It generally is a productive play, either a basket or a foul. And just the reset there to not allow, because the roof was about, it was coming off the Breslin Center. And he just makes those adjustments. They come out of that timeout. Boozer scores 5 straight points. It's a tie game all of a sudden. And Duke was the better team down the stretch. That apparently Tom Izzo, for all his acumen and ability, has never seen a 3-2 zone, because they took some of the worst shots against that, and it could not have worked more perfectly. And that's coaching.
Brian Mull with us here. All right, I got a little stock up, stock down. Stock up Michigan?
Yes, absolutely. I'm a believer.
All right. Why are you a believer?
Well, I mean, Dusty May took Florida Atlantic to the Final Four, a school that nobody had ever heard of, and wasn't even sure. Maybe it was in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, and right. And now you give him a national brand like Michigan, that's hungry, just thirsty, desperate for a winner, and all the resources that they obviously have, and 5 years of mediocrity under Juwan Howard and underachievement after the amazing run by Beeline, and you get what you're seeing on the court, which is just a team with very few weaknesses, elite. I mean, they're leading the nation in 2-point offense and 2-point defense, which is really remarkable, and their size. Their ability to mix and match. We're seeing the real Elliot Cadeau. He's thriving in that system and feeding so many options around him. And this is a team that's not going anywhere. I mean, they're built for it. The 40-point win over a Gonzaga team that I think is good enough to make the Final Four will be the best win of the season, probably by any team in the regular season. Most impressive performance. And I'm a believer in the Wolverines.
Stock down, per don't.
You know how I feel about that whole situation, Patrick. I just people get carried away with that deal every year, and I just I mean, yeah, they're going to win 28 games, 30 games, and make the tournament of the high seed, and they'll be watching. They'll
lose in the Sweet 16.
They'll be watching on that last week, and they'll be fishing.
Nothing wrong with going to Cancun.
Got secrets. Can't leave.
Yeah. Hey, Brian, great to talk to you. We may reconvene next week. I think we should.
I hope so. We need to have a little end of year wrap, fun time.
Yeah, okay. Sounds good. The great Brian Mull with us. All right, stick and stay. We put the wraps on today's Patrick Johnson show right after these words.
And now, the stunning conclusion.
Why is everyone screaming?
On 94.3 The Game.
All right. Brian Mull looked like Hunter S. Thompson today, did he not?
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah.
Hey, he's still rocking his Dodgers, baby. He is.
Well, that's what he got for Christmas. Another World Series.
And ruin baseball for the rest of us. Now, all of us have to suffer in 2027, and it's not even the Dodgers' fault. It's just Brian Mull's fault. I'm blaming it's all his fault. If he wasn't a fan of them, they wouldn't win. I'm starting a rumor so that people
a rumor.
Tar and feather him when he walks down the streets.
So Friday we will be back. No show tomorrow. We'll be preempted. 6:00 there will be an encore of the interview we did with John Gilbert, which I think is very interesting. Even in all the things that have come out since, it still has a lot of relevancy as to the bowl selection process, where the future of college football may be. So you might want to tune in for that tomorrow. We'll also have Pirate basketball tomorrow night here on 94.3 The Game, ECU and app. I'll be on ESPN Plus tomorrow night, so I'll see you then. Have a great rest of your evening, everybody. Greg Horrenda, Chris Hughes on Friday for the Patrick Johnson Show, and we'll greet you then. Have a great rest of your evening.